Well, that was the swearing in of the members of the Sports Dispute Tribunal, and this was at the Supreme Court. It was overseen by the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Anne Amadi. Amongst those who were sworn in, Alan Owini, Elena Shivek, and Jerry Onyango. They were holding office after their term was extended by the Chief Justice for 1 year, but it had been confirmed that John Ohaga would continue to serve as the chair of the Sports Dispute Tribunal for another 3 years. That was confirmed last year. He still has got about another 2 years for his term. So the members now serve for another 3 years before another set of dispute resolution experts comes in to be in charge of the Sports Dispute Tribunal. We shall be getting back into conversation with Humphrey Kayange, but I think it's time for us to take our reporter's diary. That is our reporter's diary, looking at the events that are going to be covered by our news team today. I'm Daniel Wahom, and welcome back to News Check on this Monday morning. We're having a conversation about the Olympic Day with Humphrey Kayange, who is former captain of the Kenya Sevens team. And at the bottom right of your picture, we've got Susan Thuku, who is our sign language interpreter. Humphrey, you know, the conversation we were having before we took that break was, you know, how getting rugby sevens back. You told us, I mean, it was a whole thing, you know, when you've got to look for even sports like karate, which really wanted to be at the Olympics and haven't been there for quite some time. For you, and for you to become an Olympian, you know, it almost never happened, were it not for Dennis Ombachi.
Yeah, it is the pinnacle in terms of athletes' performance. You want to be there, you want to go there, you play well, compete against all the other nations, and you can't even imagine. I mean, you go there and you win a medal. I mean, that becomes just something else. But just being part of the Olympics is really a dream come true for most of the athletes. And now that the focus, so for rugby, has been at the Olympics, we've seen even nations that didn't have rugby programs running have invested in that and wanting to be part of that global multi-sport event.
Now, here you are. You're now an Olympian. I know you can use OLY. I mean, the titles that come with it. Yeah. The question is now, what's the impact that for the 12 men and the 12 women who donned the Kenyan jersey at the Olympics? What has been their impact now on the society, having been Olympians?
Yeah, the first thing about Olympism is just being able to blend the sports side with the community, with the youngsters being role models. And for all the guys who've been to the Olympics and, as you say, have the OLI now added to their names, I think it just becomes of what role can you play, having achieved or being part of that, to the community or the people around you. The first immediate impact would be, I mean, in terms of the rugby circles and your club and the young players who look up to you and come and ask for advice and ask for what they can do just to experience the same. The second thing will be just to the community, and we've seen different players just take up different roles in their community. I personally have a foundation running that impacts young adults who've just completed high school. They're looking on to going to college or otherwise with just the skills that they wouldn't get sort of in a school-based system. So we after the Olympics, they say your service is now to the community as a former Olympian. OL-wide is not just a tag. It just means you're doing more than just beyond the sport, sort of. Yeah.
And for you mentioned about working with young people, and you've also led the Kenyan delegation at the Youth Games in Africa, and you've seen them move on, be part of the Youth Olympics. What's the impact that it has when you are there leading this kind these groups now, because that's as part of a member of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. What's the impact it has on these youngsters?
I think that was the interesting bit. A few years ago, I was just competing, in the same role like those athletes were. I mean, not as young, but I was competing donning the shirt and being able to require and need services of people around, whether managers, coaches, trainers who understand and are able to get where you are and the struggles you're going through. I have been privileged to lead the Youth Olympic, the young between 14 to 18 sort of age group to the Youth Olympic Games. I think the first thing that was immediate was the relation and how we interacted with the youth. I think the kids were more receptive towards coming forward and expressing what they feel should be done, where they feel like they need some sort of assistance. We did create bonds. I mean, at that role, I was like their boss, but it didn't feel like that. It feels like I'm one of them through the process. And we had a good competition out in Algiers 2 years ago. So it's having stepped from that side, it's always easier to interact and relate to the young adults.
All right, Humphrey, just some interruption. The pictures you're seeing on the split screen are from the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is meeting with the Jubilee Parliamentary Group. So those are pictures coming to you live from KICC. They are meeting there. You can see that the President has already arrived at the KICC, the Kenyatta International Convention Center. He's meeting with members of the National Assembly who are from the Jubilee Party, and those are the parties that who've now come and become affiliated with them, charting the way forward. The pictures are there. Edward Kabasa is our reporter at the KICC, and he is going to be bringing us up to speed with what's happening there. So that's one of the big news stories we'll be taking a look at today at the KICC, where President Uhuru Kenyatta meets the Jubilee Party parliamentarians. So when Edward Kabasa is ready to give us an update on this, we will be joining him. Continue the conversation with Humphrey, and this is where for the Olympic Day, one of the things that you always do is to try and target the youth. And the way the International Olympic Committee wants to do this is sports, culture, and education. This year, a theme was taken up because we can't do outdoor activities because of the coronavirus situation. It was about arts and essays. How has this, from what you've seen, the response, what was it like?
Yeah, I think this year we've been faced with Corona, and a few things had to change. The usual Olympic Day is a number of events, sports exhibitions, culminating into an Olympic Day run, which is a 1.5, a 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer run or walk where everyone is invited to participate. Yeah, of course, with Corona, we cannot do that. So we've all taken up the digital approach and just seeing how much can be done in that space. The first thing was Olympics has to be taken up from all ages of life, and the best age to take it up is as young with the youth. So we've got art and crafts and ACs for the youth, and I think this has been taken up quite well. Interesting. The judges are having a good time just to figure out which ones will take the prizes at the end. Like the Olympics, usually gold medal and silver. So we're looking at just appreciating everyone who's participated on the platform. Tomorrow, the activities will be online, announcing the winners as well during that. And some apart from the arts and the ACs, there will be activities online on the Instagram platform in terms of exercises. Remember, the hashtag for this year Olympics Day is stay strong, stay healthy, stay alive. So we're trying to resonate with those and ensure that wherever you are, small in your houses, you can do something to keep active and keep healthy.
And this is where I want to come in, because the three pillars of the Olympic Day: move, learn, discover. Tell us how you want them to play out tomorrow.
Yeah, I think with Corona, interesting that everyone has just been staying at home. So we want people to start moving. So the activities online will help them to keep moving, move your body, exercise, and try and keep healthy. In terms of learning, we got the art and craft and the ECs. We know there's a lot of talent in that front. So can they sit at home and think about the Olympics and depict it, draw or write an essay about what they feel about the Olympics, and discovering other talents which normally you wouldn't have. I would want to see the numbers after Corona, how many Kenyans have taken up to exercises, and guys who you thought would never walk or run or wake up in the morning and do a small exercise routine have been able to take that up, so which is just ensuring that the whole community stays healthy.
Now, one of our athletes, Faith Kipyegon, she is the only Kenyan I've seen who's going to be part of the globe, because this is not just Kenya, it's globally, and getting together. Faith Kipyegon, what was the criteria of choosing her? She won gold for Kenya in the 1500 meters in Rio. How was, picking Faith? Everyone loves Faith. She's got this demeanor that everyone just tends to love.
Yeah, we all love Faith, and I think it came down from the athletes commissions at the IOC, where they were selecting different athletes from different continents. Faith was an excellent choice as well. I mean, we have a number of athletes that could have gone online, but I mean, Faith is quite with the gold medal in the 1500. I mean, she's quite a pillar and in Kenyan athletes athletic scene. So it's good that Faith will be online tomorrow, just showing what will be done in terms of her exercise routine during COVID. As well, I'll be online doing a small exercise routine. I haven't won gold for Kenya, but I think I can be able to, different from athletics, just show what in rugby we used to do in terms of a warm-up training and exercise routine.
Oh. All right. So, Kayange, we'll be getting back to that. A quick update on what's happening, and this is at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
Leo hakuna maneno mengine tunaongeza. Na statement itatoka officially. Kwa hivyo mngojee official statement from the party leader. Asanteni sana.
Well, that was precise. We are not speaking. Expect a statement from the party leader, and the party leader is president. And we're talking about the Jubilee Parliamentary Group meeting at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. And so they've simply said, wait for the official statement that's going to come from President Uhuru Kenyatta. They do not want to usurp his roles. Well, something that even has Kayange laughing about parliamentarians. So it's just part of the news check and what we are looking at today. And continuing with this conversation, Humphrey, you mentioned about the Athletes Commission. You are one of the two athlete representatives, the other one being Helen Obiri. Now, let's get down to your role as in athlete representation. How has it been for the last 2 years since the new National Olympic Committee of Kenya board came into office?
Yeah, I think the role that the athletes play in terms of representation to the executive board is quite critical. We sit there to ensure that the views and point of view of the athletes is always at the center of our conversations. Myself and Helen have learned and we're doing all we can to ensure that voice never dies out. In terms of the board, it has been quite receptive, with the members just being able to ensure that we do not drift off course, and ensure that, as I said, the athletes is the core of all our businesses. So a few things that face athletes in terms of allowances, in terms of welfare, we make sure that we always get back to that, apart from other activities that the NOC is tasked to doing.
Now, and this is where it comes in. You're going for the global one. The National Olympic Committee of Kenya would like to have you in the Athletes Commission of the IOC. Tell us about this role and the journey and what it entails.
Yeah, I think they always say for you to have greatest impact, you want to sit where the decisions are being made. And I think the Athletes Commission is quite key and is huge in terms of its role, not only for Kenya but for athletes. Across Africa, where Kenya is and all over the globe. I think for me it was a step up from what I've been learning and growing in terms of the executive role of athletes. You do initially the names are being proposed, so you have to apply. You have to do a write-up about what you feel you'll be adding or bringing in terms of athletes representation. It was key that I got some support from Africa in terms of coming down south and to the west, in terms of just ensuring that they will back me up during that process. The process for getting into the Athletes Commission will involve, during the Olympic Games, all the 10,000 athletes at the village will have to vote for their candidates. So the 6 candidates who come at the end of the period are the ones that get elected to the IOC Athletes Commission. So at this point of view is just reaching out to athletes group and athletes commissions across the continent, sharing your manifesto, sharing your agenda. Of course, you want them to vote for you come, it was supposed to be this year, but come next year during the Olympic Games, because that's the period of the voting. And as soon as you get to the Olympic Games, you'll have to go around and share manifesto again to athletes, ensuring just you build that bond with them, so that once you step in and athletes from different countries will come to you and raise issues that are facing athletes globally or within their region, is something that can be raised up to the Athletes Commission, which can then be raised up at the IOC Executive Board.
Now, some of the, let's try and pick out 3 of the key things that you would like to see when it comes to athlete representation, especially within Africa, things that athletes must need to, you feel are concerns from your experience in Rio 2016, and also having worked as a delegation leader at youth level games.
I think the top thing in terms of my priorities is, from Africa, athletes are coming already from disadvantaged backgrounds. In terms, you can't compare athletes competing, say, here and the top 6 nations, and you'd want their support to be quite elaborate in terms of what they're being given. If you want them to perform or compete at the same platform, at least in terms of the resources, they should be matched. There shouldn't be such a big disparity between top nations and the lower tier nations. Yes, the value of the Olympics is trying to get everyone to a level playing field. If that cannot happen, is at least ensure athletes that are coming from backgrounds that they are not as privileged as the others, they get more support in terms of their preparation towards the game, in terms of their training and their facilities. So that will be the first thing, that across Africa, athletes will be complaining about such issues of us not having the facilities, no equipment, or the resources just to be able to compete with their counterparts in different continents. Number 2 will be in terms of welfare. It's interesting because, coming from Kenya and other continents, welfare is usually neither here nor there, because everyone has their different approaches to welfare. Some might think it's just funding. More funding means more success, which is not the case. So it's just ensuring, in terms of welfare, education is important in the process. Yes, the money and the resources can come later, but ensuring the athletes, in terms of their intellectual ability, they know what they need to do, even if the funding will come or will start coming in. It's throughout the whole chain, in terms of the coaches, the entourage, the administrators. We are all supporting what we want the athletes to achieve.
All right. So, Humphrey Kayange giving us his manifesto, and this is as he tries to seek a place at the Athletes Commission at the IOC.